Welcome back to Code Emily. I haven't figured out how to say that yet. Welcome back. I want to talk to you today about software engineering interviews because they're scary, but they don't have to be. Interviewing is one of the most scary things no matter what, whatever you're interviewing for. I mean, you're being judged. You're going into something and you're saying, hey, here's what I can do. Do you accept me? But we should really reframe the way we think about interviews. There is no bad interview. Unless, of course, you aren't nice to your interview. Like that is important because you want to make sure that you leave a good standing at the end of the interview, even if you don't get it. You want to be very professional about it. So, of course, as long as you're a nice person, which I know you will be. If you're watching this channel, I feel like you're nice. If you were nice, you would have clicked away. You would have been like, I hate her. Every single interview that you do, you learn something from it. Even if you don't get the job, maybe you learned a new skill. Maybe you learned a new concept. Maybe you learned about team structures and, oh, this company I interviewed for, I didn't like the structure of their team. So the next company I interview for, I want their team to be structured this way. Even if you get rejected, which hurts so much, I know, you still can take so much away from it. A lot of the time we focus on the fact that we could get rejected if we apply, and we don't apply. We all go through this. We all say, oh, there's no way I would get that. I'm not even going to bother. And we don't do it. Imagine if all the things in your life that you've ever wanted to do, every time you wanted to do them, you applied and you tried. You could be in a completely different place right now. You have to apply and you have to put yourself out there. And you have to be vulnerable. You have to be vulnerable. That's a hard word to say. Being vulnerable, saying it. But you have to be in a position that you are okay with getting potentially rejected. You have to know that a rejection from an interview isn't the end of the world. It honestly isn't even really a bad thing. If you do get rejected on an interview, ask them exactly why. And if they can tell you why you got rejected, like you didn't understand this concept enough and we feel that it's important for this job. Hey, the next thing you have as a task now, learn about that concept. It teaches you about yourself so that you can do better next time. That sounds so cheesy, but it's just the truth. A lot of positions will say things like, this position needs 5 years of experience. It needs X, Y, Z. It needs this. It needs that. Those are the desired things in a person, but they're not always who gets the job. They're just the ideal. But it's not even the ideal candidate. A lot of the time, a position description, it's not that important. Of course, like as long as the role that you're going for matches what you want to do. Don't back away from applying for a position if you don't exactly meet, like say you have 4 years of Python experience, but the thing says 5 years of Python experience. Apply. Please apply at that point, or apply even if you have 1 year, because there might be a different position at that company that fits you, or they might not actually care about that as much as you think. Just apply. Just apply, 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 apply. What's the worst that's going to happen, especially if you're just sending in your resume? You might not hear back. You might hear, hey, we're not interested at this time. That's fine, but you tried. I'm going to focus specifically on JavaScript/React interviews because those are the ones that I've done personally. Well, a lot of the time you get interviewed by like 5 different people. Maybe your potential manager, you get interviewed by a designer, you get interviewed by other peer engineers. There's typically a coding portion of the interview. It completely depends on the company. Every single company is different with this, but sometimes you'll peer code. So you'll hop onto some sort of website and you'll be coding and they'll be able to see exactly what you're doing. You'll work through some problems and maybe at some points you'll ask questions, or sometimes you have an overnight or you're given a certain amount of hours to finish a project that they give you. Say you have an interview coming up, maybe in the week before, you do some exercises. I mean, if you're completely new to JavaScript, this is a little bit different, but say, I don't know, you've been working for a little bit or you've been doing JavaScript for a little bit, I would do some exercises. Typically what I would do is find some sort of online coding practice type of thing, which honestly, I could make one. Maybe that's a video I'll make in the future. ADHD, man. It's a tough life. Do different coding exercises, do some like array manipulation. Also, I have tons of videos that you could watch. Just sharpen up on your JavaScript skills, sharpen up on the concepts, sharpen up on variable types, sharpen up on spread operators, sharpen up just all the main JavaScript principles, sharpen up on those. A lot of the time you get asked questions that you would never ever think about in your everyday job. Your interview brain is kind of a little bit different than your everyday, either in school or working at a company doing JavaScript brain. You have to really like dive back into the basics. If you're working in JavaScript every day, you're like way deep in the weeds, but you gotta come up for fresh air. remind yourself of the beauty of JS and React, of course. My number one pet peeve in interviews, if someone doesn't know the answer to something, I would so much rather someone say, I don't know, could you help me understand it or something, rather than try and kind of like make up an answer. If someone asks you some sort of concept question and you do not know the answer, the best thing to do is say, I don't know, could you phrase that question differently? Or I don't know, could you help me understand that? Or I don't know, I would love to research that though and maybe get back to you. And or something like, if I worked here, I could sharpen up that skill before I start. I would love to know more about it. I'm very interested. It's so much better to be willing to learn the concept than to kind of spoof it. It's just not necessarily a good sign that someone is going to be willing to learn on the job. If someone's not willing to just say, I don't know. You don't know. And that's okay. It's okay to not know. I've said yes on interviews to people that didn't know questions. I'm not happy if someone doesn't know something, but I'm like not upset if someone doesn't know something. If it's like a core principle to JavaScript, yeah, maybe that's a red flag for a candidate. However, those are the scenarios where that candidate can go home and learn about it before they come back to interview again, or they interview somewhere else. Or maybe we should consider them being in more of a junior positions. If someone has a great personality, they're willing to learn, that's huge. And that brings me to my final point. Understanding the coding principles is very important. However, personality in an interview is very important too. I actually usually put it above the coding understanding. The candidate is willing to work as a team. The candidate is willing to say things like, I don't know the answer, because that shows that there's no like attitude issue there really. That candidate then, if you were working on a team with them, would be willing to just be a team player. You know, that's important. So I think just showing who you are in an interview, being yourself, being nice, thanking the interviewer, sending an email or a letter, sending an email after the interview, like, thank you so much for having me. Those are the things that really matter, that really people are going to remember that. Those are my interview tips. If anyone has any specific questions, please leave comments down below. I would love to make a part 2 of this. This is something I love to talk about. I love interviews. I love interviewing people. It's fun. If you like it here, please like and subscribe. It always feels so weird saying that. I probably should start saying it more though. Because yeah, this is Code Emily and this is where we're at. I'm so excited to be just making these videos, this content. This is what I've been wanting to do for a really long time, and I finally am doing it. Because I'm finally doing my channel, I think that you should finally apply for that job that you want. Put yourself out there. Like I said, if you get rejected, that's okay. You learn something and you go from there. Getting rejected is a part of life, but it's what you learn from it and where you go next that really matters. That was deep. Probably the blue theme. I'm in the ocean. Thank you so much. I will be back next Monday.